Okay, so in this video, we're going to be talking about multiplying a monomial, one term, by a binomial, two terms, okay? Or formally, as you guys know it, the distributive property, okay? We've actually seen the distributive property before, but this is the bare basics that leads us into multiplying polynomials, because that's really what we have. 3 would be the monomial, and x minus 5 would be our binomial with two terms, okay? And just like we've talked about before, when we're multiplying a monomial by a binomial, or the distributive property, we have to multiply the first term here to each term in the parentheses. So it'd be 3 times x, which would be 3x, and then 3 times a negative 5. Okay, we're going to keep that sign of a negative. 3 times a negative 5, which would be negative 15. And then notice we're already in standard form, and this would be our solution. Okay, now sometimes it's not in this set of notes. Sometimes there might be something added on the end, like maybe it says plus 2, in which case you would just combine like terms after that, and you could combine this to make negative 13. Okay, so then you'd have 3x minus 13. It just depends on what's given. Sometimes you can combine terms at the end, but the important thing right now is just focusing on the multiplying of the polynomials, okay? So multiplying this guy out, we have 3 times 7p. 3 times 7, we're going to multiply the coefficients, is 21, and then we also multiplied by that p, okay? Then we have 3 times 1, which would be 3, okay? So this would be as simplified as we could be. Number 3, we have a lot of 3's here. Now this one actually has a variable here. Now this is a little bit different than the addition and subtraction. With the addition and subtraction, you had to have like terms. Here, we're just multiplying everything together. So this is really the product rule between the x's here, okay? They both have an exponent of 1, so it's really going to be like the product rule. So 3 times 5 is 15. Keep the base of x. 2 plus 1 is 3. So it's like you're applying the product rule when you're in that situation. Okay, so that was times this guy, and then multiplying to this guy, 3 times 5 would be 15 again, and then we have our x squared, okay? So since there wasn't anything to multiply that x squared by, it's still part of the product, so it'd be x squared, okay? And then lastly here, we have 2n times n plus 5, so 2n times n. Well, 2 times the n is still 2. We can treat it like as a coefficient of 1, if you will. 2 times 1 is 2. And then n times n, that's the base, but they both have an exponent of what? They both have an exponent of 1. So what would you do in the product rule? Well, we added the exponents to get 2. So n times n is n squared. And then 2n times 5, 2 times 5 would be 10, and n is still a part of our product. Okay? So this would be as simple as we could be.